So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 13, Text 33, Translation. You should consider how, by the influence of my illusory energy, these three states of the mind, caused by the modes of nature, have been artificially imagined to exist in me. Having definitely ascertained the truth of the soul, you should utilize the sharpened sword of knowledge acquired by logical reflection and from the instructions of sages and Vedic literatures to completely cut off the false ego, which is the breeding ground of all doubts. All of you should then worship me, who am situated within the heart. Purport. One who has obtained transcendental knowledge is no longer dependent on the three stages of ordinary consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep. One thus rids one's material mind of the tendency to become the enjoyer of the inferior energy of the Lord, and one sees everything as part and parcel of the Lord's potency, meant only for the enjoyment of the Lord Himself. In such a state of consciousness, one naturally surrenders fully to the Lord's devotional service, which Lord Hamsa here advises the sons of Brahma to take up. Evam virimrishya gunato manasastriyavasta manmayaya maikrita iti nishchitartaha sanchidyaharta manumana saduktitikshna jnana sina pajatama kila samshayadim. You should consider how, by the influence of my illusory energy, these three states of the mind, caused by the modes of nature, have been artificially imagined to exist in me. Having definitely ascertained the truth of the soul, you should utilize the sharpened sword of knowledge acquired by logical reflection and from the instructions of sages and Vedic literatures to completely cut off the false ego, which is the breeding ground of all doubts. All of you should then worship me, who am situated within the heart. So the Lord has appeared as a swan. It's called Hamsa Avatar. Hamsa means swan. And he's teaching Lord Brahma and his 4 sons, Kumaras. Brahma has more than 4 sons, but these are devotees who decided to remain brahmacharis, and they didn't want to grow up because they didn't want to get entangled in the material world, especially into a family life. And in this whole chapter, there is a discussion about the relation of the mind and the sense objects. This was the question that Kumaras asked, I think, in the verse 17. So the sages were headed by Sanaka. He is one of the Kumars. And they said, O Lord, people's minds are naturally attracted to material sense objects, and similarly the sense objects in the form of desire enter within the mind. Therefore, how can a person who desires liberation, who desires to cross over activities of sense gratification, destroy this mutual relationship between the sense objects and the mind? Please explain this to us. So practically the rest of the chapter is based on this question, which appears in the 17th verse. And there is 4 more verses where sense objects are mentioned. So now this is extremely relevant for everyone, including devotees, who want to control the mind and control the senses. And everyone has a problem with this. Everyone has a problem, everyone who is a conditioned soul has a problem of being attracted to Maya in various forms. There is 5 ways in which the sense objects appear. One is rupa, or form. So we are attracted by the form of the opposite gender. Then shabda is sound. We are attracted by beautiful music. Then sparsha is touch. We are attracted to touch, soft things. Then gandha means what can be smelled. We are attracted to different fragrances. And rasa, taste, which is the taste of food. We are attracted to different tastes. Like I spoke to Tiru Prabhu, who is, as you know, in the kitchen, in the restaurant, and I told him, Prabhu, most of the preparations are too spicy. They are full of chili. And he said, I made a survey with our customers and most of them actually like that. And before people were complaining that this is like a hospital, it's all tasteless, there is no taste. And although you offer salt in small bags, but it seems that a lot of people like spicy, hot food. And some of you maybe don't like, or some of you are sick and you cannot take it, even if you like it. So the different people are attracted to different rasas or tastes. So these are the sense objects. And of course, if you have a person, so that this person may be a combination of different objects. This person may have a nice form, beautiful voice, nice fragrance, and how to say, can be touchable. Anyway, somebody may find pleasure in hugging someone, touching someone. And the 5th one I don't want to explain. So, material mind, conditioned mind, which we all have, is naturally attracted. You don't have to preach to the mind, please be attracted to this sense object. Immediately, automatically, spontaneously, and naturally, the mind is attracted. And we all struggle with this. We all struggle with this. Yesterday, I gave a lunch class and I mentioned the example of 2 devotees who were amazing kirtan singers. And we had a program in the town called Subotica in Serbia. And they are able to fire up a lot of people by their kirtan. But when we came in the evening before the program, they noticed an amusement park nearby. It was a small amusement park, it's not huge, not like a circus. And they just disappeared. And the Buddha says, where are they? They're supposed to perform very soon. Maybe it was 10-15 minutes before the start of the concert, of the kirtan, which they played very expertly. And I was looking around, and I saw them in the amusement park, looking at these flippers and old machines, different kinds of machines, completely, how you say, absorbed, enchanted. And it was a very obvious example how material energy, or the glare of material energy, can attract you. And we all had this experience. Yesterday, one gentleman, Mr. Chris, he was saying, that he gets attracted. He has a TV, but he has a TV at home, but he gets attracted by a plasma screen, a big screen in shops, and it remains in his mind. He sees something attractive. So now this is not such a big thing to be attracted by a screen. There is much more severe attractions, and what is described here is that the sense object, when you see it or when you hear it, gets stuck in your mind. So this relationship between the sense objects and the mind is described. And nowadays everybody is trying to be absorbed in sense objects through their screens 24 hours a day. So this is why we like programs like Gita Base or online Vedas, because if you have to look at the screen, then look at the scriptures on the screen, on your tablet or a mobile phone or a laptop, and pictures of the Prabhupada, pictures of the deities. Just like devotees make photos every day of a darshan, and then everyone can see on the website new photo of the deities. So let us look at the next verse, it's 25th verse, and see what it says about the mind and the sense objects. 25th. My dear sons, the mind has a natural proclivity to enter into the material sense objects. And similarly, the sense objects enter into the mind. But both this material mind and the sense objects are merely designations that cover the spirit soul, who is part and parcel of me. So I will go back to the purport, but I want to read you 3 more verses which speak about the sense objects. And in the purport there is explanations by the acharyas about this issue. So the next verse also speaks about this. A person who has thus achieved me by understanding that he is not different from me realizes that the material mind is lodged within the sense objects because of constant sense gratification, and that the material objects are existing prominently within the material mind. Having understood my transcendental nature, he gives up both the material mind and its objects. So that means that we have to understand we are not the material mind, we are not this thoughts that relate to enjoying sense objects. And then verse 28, the spirit soul is trapped in the bondage of material intelligence, which awards him constant engagement in the illusory modes of nature. But I am the fourth stage of consciousness, beyond wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. So these are 3 stages of consciousness. Becoming situated in me, the soul should give up the bondage of material consciousness. At that time, the living entity will automatically renounce the material sense objects and the material mind. So one art that we have to learn is to recognize when the Maya starts entering into our, proximity or our sphere, range. You are practicing your strong sadhana. You are reading Prabhupada's books. You are trying to be respectful to devotees. You are trying to avoid sweets. Even secretly you don't eat sweets anymore. And so you want to show the Lord in your heart that you are very serious. And then in a fraction of a moment, Maya comes in the most tempting form for you, and you get bewildered. So this is the moment when you are in this state. Wow. It may last 1 second, it may last 1 minute, it may last 1 hour. For some it may last 1 day or a week. So the secret is to reduce this time from a week to a second and less. That this time of recovery from being shocked by Maya, time of recovery from being bewildered by Maya and attracted. So how long is your time of recovery? You can answer this question for yourself. Because we all fall into this trap from time to time. We are surrounded by sense objects. Now in this temple we are surrounded by spiritual sense objects, so our senses are bombarded with spiritual sense objects, which is great mercy. But if you go on the street, then you can see that there is material sense objects, and that we are attracted to. So what is Maya in our mind? Maya, dear devotees, is the word maybe. The word maybe. As soon as maybe appears, we're on our way down. So serious devotee doesn't allow the word maybe to appear in his mind. And he wants to show Krishna that he's serious. Sometimes I teach about time management, and one of the steps in daily time management is exercise integrity in the moment of choice, or demonstrate sincerity in the moment of choice. What does it mean? It means, especially when no one is looking, you make a Krishna conscious choice. And in this way you earn points in the eyes of the Lord. That he says, oh, he's serious, again and again and again. And he starts to trust him. And then, if you get in trouble, then he can save you. Because you have shown so much seriousness in so many instances. So, we can pray for this, that I want to show you, my dear Lord, that I am serious, that I am sincere, especially when no one is looking. Especially when no one is looking. Okay, so let's look at the verse 34, and then we will go back to this amazing purport. Yeah, that's tomorrow's verse. One should see that the material world is a distinct illusion appearing in the mind. Because material objects have an extremely flickering existence and are here today and gone tomorrow. They can be compared to the streaking red line created by whirling a fiery stick. The spirit soul by nature exists in the single state of pure consciousness. The spirit soul by nature exists in the single state of pure consciousness. However, in this world, he appears in many different forms and stages of existence. The modes of nature divide the soul's consciousness into normal wakefulness, dreaming, and dreamless sleep. All such varieties of perception, however, are actually Maya, and exist only like a dream. So you have seen this fiery stick, whirling fiery stick, and this line that we can see disappears in a second. It's illusory. So the important point in this verse is that sense objects are here today and gone tomorrow. So why is this mentioned here? Basically, what is the message in this point? You tell me. Huh?
The objects and subjects are temporary.
Yes, and what does it mean for us?
We're eternal. We're eternal, they're temporary, so they'll just bring you, meditation.
You should not be attached to them.
Yes, yeah. Don't get attached to temporary things because you will suffer. That's the point. Don't get attached. Why there are so many explanations about temporality of material things that we get attached to, is that the message is do not fall into a trap of getting attached. Do not fall into this trap. Do not give in to the temptation. Okay, so we are going back to the verse 25, which has explanations from the Acharyas about the relationship between the mind and the sense objects. Lord Krishna, in the form of Hamsa avatar, on the pretext of finding contradictions in the simple inquiry of the sons of Brahma, who are you? That was the question of Kumaras, of the sons of Brahma, is actually preparing to teach the sages perfect spiritual knowledge, but only after rejecting first rejecting two false concepts of life, namely that all living entities are the same in all respects, and the living entity is identical with his outward or subtle body. Lord Krishna now answers the difficult question that puzzled even Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma couldn't answer that question. He admitted that he doesn't know. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the sons of Lord Brahma were thinking as follows. Now this is a paraphrased question. Our dear Lord, if it is indeed true that we are unintelligent Still, your Lordship has stated that you are actually everything, because everything is the expansion of your potency. Therefore, you are also the mind and the sense objects, which are the subject matter of our question. The material sense objects always enter into the functions of the mind, and similarly, the mind always enters into the material sense objects. So this is this interaction. Thus, it is proper that we inquire from your Lordship about the process by which the sense objects will no longer enter the mind, and the mind will no longer enter the sense objects. Please be merciful and give us the answer. This is such a sincere question. If we can learn to ask sincere questions about spiritual advancement, we can speed up our spiritual advancement. This is an example of a sincere question, extremely sincere question. The Lord answers as follows. So now what I read, I think the answer also is, this is based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. The Lord answers as follows. My dear sons, it is a fact that the mind enters into the material sense objects and the sense objects into the mind. Thus, although the living entity is actually part and parcel of me, being as I am also eternally conscious, and although the eternal form of the living entity is spiritual, in conditioned life, the living entity artificially imposes upon himself the mind and sense objects, which act as covering designations of the eternal soul. Since it is the natural function of the material mind and sense objects to mutually interact, how can you possibly endeavor to prevent such a mutual attraction? Since both the material mind and sense objects are useless, they both should be completely given up, and thus automatically you will be free from all material duality. Now this is difficult. How can you give up the mind and the sense objects when you have been identifying with them and being attracted by them from the time immemorial? Like we heard how Brahma has left his subtle body because it was contaminated by the desire to enjoy his daughter in the form of, and chasing in the form of a deer. So recently I attended a training course where we learned new techniques of coaching people. And you learn how to coach people in different ways, different schools, but most of them are very similar. And now this system, new system, is completely different. And I told our trainer that I feel like I'm leaving my subtle body by this training. I feel like part of me has to die because I did it wrong. So here it's like, like you have to stand on your head, turn upside down everything you have been doing so far. You are so much identifying with the mind and with the sense object. This is how you live, whole day. You're watching, you're dreaming, you're envisioning. And now Krishna says you have to give up all this. And you may ask, how will I live? What will I think about? So this is not an easy job. Srila Sridhar Swami points out that the symptom of the material mind is the tendency to consider oneself to be the ultimate doer and enjoyer. Now, in relation to the verse that we read, the one that we read is the main verse for today. It says about giving up the false ego. So false ego is called ahankara. Ahankara means I am the doer. And here, this is mentioned. The symptom of the material mind is the tendency to consider oneself to be the ultimate doer and enjoyer. Naturally, one with such a puffed up mentality is helplessly attracted by the sense objects. So this mentality is also come out of pride. I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. Ishvaroham, aham bogi, is described as a demoniac quality. And helplessly attracted by sense objects. How many of you feel that you are helplessly attracted by sense objects? You don't have to raise your hand. Oh, okay. Some people raise their hand very bold. So you almost feel like a victim. But we are a victim by choice. If we are honest, I think we will admit that. We are a victim by choice, and you can choose otherwise. One who considers himself to be the doer and enjoyer will be irresistibly attracted to the means for attaining sense gratification and false prestige, namely exploitation of material objects. So people are proud that they have some material opulence. But this is something that will be lost. About the material mind, however, is intelligence, which can perceive the existence of the eternal spirit soul. It is not possible to separate the material mind from the sense objects because they naturally exist together. So Sridhar Swami is saying this. They naturally exist together. Therefore, by intelligence, one must realize one's eternal form as spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord, and completely reject the bogus material mentality. One who revives his original spiritual mentality becomes automatically detached from material attraction. Therefore, one should cultivate knowledge of the falsity of sense gratification. When the mind or senses are attracted to material enjoyment, the superior intelligence must immediately detect such illusion. Now, this is very beneficial, this instruction, for what I was mentioning as exercising integrity in the moment of choice. So the superior intelligence notices this attraction of the mind and detaches us from it. In this way, one should purify one's mentality. By devotional service to the Lord, such detachment and intelligence automatically awaken, and by full understanding of one's original spiritual form, one is properly situated in eternal consciousness. Now, one statement here, in this last sentence, if we look at our experience, is actually not right. So how can I say something like this? It's strange.
Like devotional service?
No. It says automatically. So such detachment and intelligence automatically awaken. So we can see a devotee doing service, and not developing detachment and intelligence automatically. Chanting his rounds, doing service, but not reading, not trying to, stretch his intelligence, his brain, to understand what is really happening. And all this analysis that we are doing is actually very purifying. we become convinced, oh yes, I should not contemplate sense objects. It's not good for me. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's something that will actually bring me suffering. So I don't know why commentators, or I don't know if it's Sridhar Swami or Vidananda Maharaj, why they say that it's automatically awakened. Maybe in some cases, but I have very rarely seen that automatically this awakens. So we see that those who don't read very much, those who don't use the knowledge and the philosophy to develop their faith, they actually after some time go away, or their practice is very much watered down. It's not strict. So if it doesn't awaken automatically, then we should work on it consciously. So this is what I wanted to say for today, based on this chapter, which is fascinating. It's so wonderful. I recommend that you study it. It has 42 verses, many beautiful commentaries, and it can help us be more sincere. Thank you very much for listening, and we have a couple of minutes for questions. Yes?
He mentions pure devotional service, and we understand that at the present moment we practice mixed devotional service. So in this way we can understand if we would practice pure devotional service, the detachment would come automatically. And mixed devotional service is mixed with karma, jnana,
And yoga.
yeah. And mixed by different modes of material nature.
Yeah.
In other words, mixed by ulterior desires. So I have full faith in this statement that if I practice pure devotional service, I will automatically be detached.
Well, thank you. So this gives another angle. Yeah, that's nice. So if then, yes. Okay, any other? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.